So here I am in a place that might look familiar to most of you. Certainly is a familiar landscape to me. Not only am I on the hopefully familiar Natural Heritage Trail, you can see the sign behind me, I'm in our Piedmont forest section of the trail, out of the mountains and into the Piedmont. Even though we're out of the mountains that we've talked about for the last couple weeks, I'm still in a forest. A forest is something that's dominated by trees, usually oaks and hickories, beech trees. There's some pine trees here. You can see the landscape behind me. And I say this looks familiar because I grew up in the Piedmont, and I always thought this is what nature is. This is natural. And while it's certainly more natural than a golf course or a strip mall or a parking lot or a subdivision, that's not the whole story. You may have heard, as I did growing up, from a history teacher in my case, I think in 6th grade. Granted, he wasn't a scientist, but I had heard that before Europeans came over and settled into the United States and our state, that a squirrel could start, I think I remember the example of Caesar's Head or Paris Mountain in Greenville, where I lived, that a squirrel could walk from Paris Mountain all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, not without touching the ground, from jumping from tree branch to tree branch, because our state was this vast forested landscape. So I ask you, am I standing in a natural place surrounded by trees and in the shade of this forested woodland? Or is this a natural landscape in the Piedmont region? Standing in the middle of a grassland in our Piedmont Prairie restoration area. And you can see there's no trees here, but sun-loving plants and grasses and flowers. I do think it's worth us talking about not only why these types of habitats are disappearing and why that matters, but also that people aren't even aware of what we've lost. They didn't know that this used to be here.